Welcome to the Conception Channel podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Spence Pentland, founder and clinical director of Still. The following episode is based on a real clinical case. To protect privacy, certain identifying details have been changed. The clinical journey, emotional experience, and treatment principles are real. When stress is the missing piece, a fertility case of regulation, not deficiency. Today's episode is a case many women will recognize themselves in, not because it's dramatic or complex, but because it's quietly common. This is a story of a woman in her early 30s who sought fertility support after about a year of trying to conceive. She and her partner had married a few years earlier. At first, pregnancy wasn't something they were actively pursuing. Life was full, busy, and moving forward in many directions at once. Over time, they became more intentional, and eventually, she arrived at a place many women reach gently but honestly. We may need support now, because this doesn't seem to be happening on its own. There was no diagnosis, no fertility clinic involvement, no IVF, no alarming test results. And yet, pregnancy hadn't happened. When we step back and look at the full picture, what stands out isn't something missing in her body. It's something overloaded. She works in a high-demand professional role that requires constant cognitive output, precision, and problem-solving. Around the same period, she and her partner were also navigating a major home project. On the surface, it was a positive step, a kind of nest building. But underneath, it added layers of decision-making, timelines, and mental load. Sleep was affected. Not in the classical sense of insomnia, but in a more subtle way. Her body would lie down at night, but her system never fully powered off. Evenings involved stimulation, scrolling, thinking, planning. The lights were out, but the nervous system stayed alert. This matters deeply for fertility. From a reproductive standpoint, this was actually a reassuring case. She was in an age range that generally supports egg quality and ovarian reserve. Her menstrual cycles were regular. She tracked ovulation using cervical fluid changes, shifts in libido, and ovulation predictor kits. And she did this consistently and accurately. Ovulation appeared to be occurring. So this was not a story of a body that didn't know how to ovulate. It was a story of a body that hadn't been able to fully shift into the physiological state where conception and implantation are most supported. Fertility does not happen in urgency. It does not happen in pressure. And it does not happen when the nervous system is perpetually switched on. Fertility happens in safety. In Chinese medicine, we would describe this pattern as liver qi stagnation or liver stress. Not pathology, not disease, but overstimulation. The liver's role is to ensure smooth movement of energy. When life becomes relentless, that movement tightens. Blood flow becomes less efficient, hormonal signaling becomes noisier. The body stays prepared for action rather than open to creation. In modern language, this is sympathetic dominance. The nervous system is prioritizing output over receptivity. This is where acupuncture becomes profoundly supportive. Not as a fertility shortcut, not as a guarantee, but as a way to help the body remember how to rest. Consistent acupuncture over time helps downshift the nervous system. It supports parasympathetic tone. It improves pelvic blood flow. It supports communication between the brain and reproductive organs. And most importantly, it helps the body feel safe again. Alongside acupuncture, small changes matter. Regular meals instead of long fasting windows. Evening routines that reduce stimulation. Clear boundaries around phone use before bed. Movement that supports circulation without depletion, particularly in the second half of the cycle. This work is rarely about doing more. More often, it's about doing less with more intention. Another essential part of this case is remembering that fertility is shared physiology. Male factor plays a role in many conception challenges, even when cycles are regular and ovulation is clear. Sperm health, including DNA integrity, influences fertilization, embryo development, and implantation. Improvements in sperm quality take time, often several months, which is why early inclusion matters. This is never about blame. It's about partnership. It's about completeness. And finally, there's something important to honor about this story. This woman's desire for family was not driven by panic or fear. It was a steady, natural pull. Motherhood felt central to who she wanted to become. She longed for deep, unconditional bonds with the child. She wanted to create a safe and loving home. She felt emotionally and financially ready, and her partner's support reinforced that sense of readiness. That kind of desire isn't random. It's biological, it's emotional, it's human. So if you're listening and recognize yourself in this story, hear this clearly. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you're not alone. Very often, the moment support enters the picture is the moment the body finally has permission to soften. And that quiet shift can change everything.